Hello and welcome to part 2 on the verb sequencing. Before we move into part 2, I'd like to recap a couple points on part 1. Part 1 was basically talking about the selection of the verbs. Sometimes you don't have the choice because the verbs are contained in the textbook that you need to complete in a yearly plan. Now, also we talked a little bit about classroom English, okay? So over a year, you are going to encounter verbs that need to be mastered, both from the textbook and also in classroom English, which is the management, day-to-day management of the class, assuming that you are using proper classroom English in order to get students to do things. One of the complaints that I always had was in my 20 years, I've noticed that a very, very small minority of teachers take advantage of the naturalness of classroom English because it actually gives an acid test of whether students do understand if the teacher gives a command, a verbal command in English, and the student answers or does the command, like sit down or look at the board, take out your book, and everyone complies with that. It shows some sort of understanding of that. So I think that should be exploited much more in the course. Now, also with part 2, in order to make the verbs communicative, they need to be put in meaningful patterns. Now, classroom commands, the verbs pretty much stand alone, so you don't really need to put those in a sentence pattern. But beyond that, you're going to put these in a sentence pattern, and I should say plural, actually, because I teach both the answer form and the question form. So this is what makes a conversation begin to take shape. Sentence patterns also have a useful sequence, and I studied a certain methodology, the Model Action Talk method, back in 1993, which I found to be very effective because it laid out a good sequence, which I think that it's very effective, and I've used that sequence whenever possible. So using sentence patterns in a useful sequence. I think it is best to teach the sentence forms in an order of introducing the sentence form very, very slowly and easily, and gradually building up natural rhythm to almost native fluency. And there, first of all, I would teach the WH form. For example, the what, the where, the how, whatever pattern that you're teaching, basically what, most of them being what. Do that the first lesson, and then the following week, go ahead and bring in the yes-no pattern, the yes-no question and answer pattern. And depending on how many times the class meets, it's possible to complete all of the basic verb forms within 9 to 12 months. Now, I mentioned in part 1, make sure that you're teaching only the infinitive forms at the initial stage. Do not touch the past tense or the continuous tense at this time. However, toward the end of the year, of course, you will, and as long as you follow in a logical sequence. Now, using the junior high school first year curriculum, basically it's all present tense until the very last month. They may touch on past tense. You'll see past tense about the last month of the year. Since any past tense forms are not introduced, for example, in New Horizon, which is the book that is being used in this area now, until Unit 11 or the very last month. The sequence fits very well with the course yearly plan. The verbs are tied with a meaningful object, and so we make a phrasal verb. We don't teach run, jump, swim, eat, drink, play, isolated by themselves, unless they are standalone, like roller skate, ski, swim, run. Those do stand alone, but if they are standalone type of verbs, we teach them with meaningful objects. And for example, for the sake of this, we're going to use one verb. Everybody likes baseball, so let's talk about baseball. After you do the commands, we will go to what can you do? What can you do? And I'm going to mention that we're going to go through all the subject forms, being I, you, he, she, etc. But for the sake of this, let's just go with what can you do and worry about the he does, she does later. Okay? What can you do? I can play baseball. Number one. Number two, what do you do every day? And I like this pattern. What do you do every day? Because you can take this every day and you break it. You can break it at the end and substitute on Monday, on a rainy day, in the morning. So it's a very useful pattern. Okay, but basically, the basic form is what do you do every day? That would be number two. Number three is the fukushi, or the adverb form, the adverbs of frequency. What do you usually do? Okay, now we're going to use baseball. So let's go back to number one. What can you do? I can play baseball. Number two, what do you do every day? I play baseball every day. What do you usually do? I usually play baseball. Fourth would be going into the future tense. Future tense. What are you going to do? I am going to play baseball. Number five. What do you want to do? Shitai koto. Shitai koto in Japanese. I want to play baseball. How about suki koto? Like to. Like to. What do you like to do? I like to play first base. How about something you have to do? Must do. Have to. What do you have to do? I have to wear a batter's helmet. Now, you're going to go, after that, you're going to go into a different verb form, and I'm going to use this gesture. It's moving, it's moving. The present continuous form. What are you doing? I am playing baseball. Finally, past tense. I like to use this gesture. Past, present, future. Past. What did you do? I pitched a no-hitter inning. So following in this sequence, and of course, you don't want to forget that you do need to practice what does she do every day? What does he do every day? What do I do every day? So of course you're going to teach all the forms. But remember, the second week you can introduce the yes/no forms as well. But make sure you do it meaningfully, and we'll save exactly how we practice them for another session that will be titled Practicing, Oral Practicing. Thank you.